Hello everyone, my name is Olivia. If you haven't been here before, welcome to my channel. Today we have a brand new book haul, which I feel like I just did a book haul, but I believe that was an unhaul. So now I gotta catch you all up on the books that I have bought recently. I've got a decent amount of books here. Not too overkill, but it's mainly my book of the month and books that I have found at my book thrift store recently. I found some pretty good hidden gems, especially mystery thrillers. I feel like most of this book haul is mystery thrillers, so if you're into that, buckle up tight and let's get started. I guess you could technically call this my summer book haul because I don't think I've done a summer book haul and I'm not buying any more books this summer. I'm waiting until spooky season. I'm saving my pennies to save up for a nice big fall book haul to do for you guys then. But to start us off, before we get into the mystery thrillers, I just wanted to start off with this non-fiction book called Enneagram Type 1 by Beth McCord. I actually saw, I believe it was Hallie from the Common Room shop, share this book, and there's one for each Enneagram type. It's a non-fiction book, obviously. This is Christian non-fiction, so if you're going into this expecting something else, there may be a lot of Christian elements and Bible verses and things in here that may not speak to you like they speak to me. So just be aware of that going into this book if you do decide to pick one of them up. I would say Enneagram 9 comes in pretty close. I'm a wing 9, but I feel like I'm equal parts 9 and 1 most of the time. But I feel like 1 speaks a little bit more to me. So I decided to start with 1. And yeah, it just gives you more tips and things on why you are the way you are. There's even some spaces to write in here and basically just a lot of inspiration and a lot of encouragement. So I'm really looking forward to getting some encouragement because my perfectionist side tends to take over, and I really think this book is just going to be a really good tool to help me. And then I have a really cute middle grade here that I actually don't know much about at all. I'm gonna try to do a good job of not explaining each and every one of these books in detail because I'm pretty sure these are all fairly popular books that you guys have heard of before. But my one middle grade that I did find and I did decide to pick up is Some Kind of Happiness by Claire Legrand. I have heard Claire Legrand or this author's name forever, like literally all the time. Her name will pop up. Never read anything by her, but when I saw this at my local book thrift store, I had to check it out on Goodreads, and sure enough, she is very popular. This book is very popular, but I've never heard of it before. I do know that this has to do with a girl named Finley whose parents send her to her grandparents' house. She's never met her grandparents before, and I think she comes across this kingdom forest, or this forest kingdom that she has read about before. I'm not sure if it like comes to life, but it sounds like a pretty hard-hitting book as far as the situation with her parents and her family, so I'm really not sure what to expect. But this seems like mostly magical realism, so I feel like I'm really gonna like it. I love the cover of this. I think it looks so intriguing. There's just a little crown here and then the person's up here. I don't know, it may be a hidden gem and I may end up loving it, or maybe not. I know this is a really popular author, never read anything by her, so decided to pick it up and give it a shot. It was literally only $3, so why not? Then I'm going to share with you guys real quick my previous book of the month choices. My first one being 56 Days by Catherine Ryan Howard. This is a debut about a couple who decides to quarantine during COVID and something goes wrong. The man is not who he says he is, and it's a mystery thriller. There's a murder mystery involved, so I'm really intrigued to see how close to home this hits, and I'm really interested to see if it ends up being that interesting considering it takes place over the span of like a few hours or like one night. So anyways, it sounds really intriguing, and I'm always willing to give a mystery thriller author who's written a debut novel a chance. These next two are very popular books right now. This will not come as a surprise that I decided to pick these books up. The first one is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I actually started reading this last night, It is a very hard-hitting book already. Already has to do with a lot of family drama. There's 4 siblings involved, and apparently there is a giant fire that happens and someone starts the fire. So it has this slow build up until the big bang at the ending, and I've heard pretty mediocre things about this book actually. I feel like her other books may be better than this one, but I don't know. Decided to give it a chance. It's also our July book club pick for Homebody Book Club. So if you want to pick that up and discuss with us in mid-August, you're welcome to do so. I always have the details in my description below about the book club if you want to join. It's run by my friends Kaylin, Zoe, and I. We just enjoy picking a book and talking about it with you guys. So if you've read this or you want to read it, go ahead and join in for the month. And of course, you all know I had to give The Maidens a try by Alex Michaelides. I was really not that shocked with The Silent Patient. I think I've said that before, like I really wish I had liked that book a lot more than I did, but thinking back on the plot twist, I really think I would have rated it higher because that is technically my first mystery thriller that I think I've ever read. So in comparison to the more that I read over the years, I think I would love that book if I reread it. Anyways, decided to give this one a shot. And I don't want to say I liked it better, but the ending shocked me a little bit more than The Silent Patient. So I would say they're pretty equal. I can't decide which one I liked better. This one definitely has those dark academia vibes. There's Greek mythology, but there's not a lot to try to understand or comprehend. It's very laid out for you. You don't have to know like all the Greek gods or anything like that to understand it. But it was really good. I would say this is a solid mystery thriller if you ever want to pick one up. I'm pretty sure I may have mentioned this book already. I don't know if it was in another book haul, but I know I've mentioned it before on my channel already, but I'm gonna mention it again. That is Never Let Me Go by Kazu Ishiguro. He wrote Claire and the Sun, which I absolutely adored. I've seen this movie, I saw it years and years ago, and I don't remember the specifics of everything that happened, but I do know I cried at the movie. So I'm sure the book is going to be a lot more intense and emotionally driven, so I'm really excited to pick this one up. There's 3 main characters in this book who go to this boarding school, they grow up together, and I don't know if it's the same as the movie where they're older and there's flashbacks looking on some weird and terrible things that started happening at this boarding school, and it kind of leads up to the present day time and how awful and shocking what was going on in this boarding school. It blew me out of the water in the movie, so this is a very interesting dystopian, if I didn't already say that. It's a contemporary dystopian, so it's a little bit slower paced, but it was phenomenal. I loved the movie, so I cannot wait to read this book. Excuse me. I also feel like I've mentioned this book quite a few times on my channel, maybe more so my Instagram. I honestly can't remember, but I saw it at my local thrift shop. It's If I Had Your Face by Frances Cha. I know this is more of like a hard-hitting contemporary novel about, I think there's about 3 Asian women or 4, and their lives interweaving, and it just talks a lot about the Asian culture and the way they favor beauty and kind of idolize it, and so I really don't know what to expect of this. It's a very, very short book, and there's actually quite a few like book club questions in the back. It's less than 300 pages, so I feel like this would be a really good one for a readathon or even a book club discussion, so maybe we'll have to keep in mind this one for a book club pick. This is another one of those cases where I can gladly say Bookstagram made me do it. That is The Girl with the Louding Voice by Adeliere. I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce her name, but Bookstagram, hands down, this is all over Bookstagram, so I couldn't say no to it when I got it on sale through Amazon. I know nothing about it other than I believe it's a fictional book about a Nigerian woman who is trying to just survive in her village and become an educator and a teacher, and she learns to speak up for herself. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I know a lot of people have been brought to tears and just really moved by this book. I feel like this is going to be a really, really good palate cleanser if I really just get tired of mystery thrillers and fantasy, and I don't know, I feel like this is a book that probably everyone needs to read and experience, at least that's what I've heard. So I'm really excited to dive into this one. I know this is one of those books that is gonna take me a while to trudge through, but I know I'm not gonna regret it. This cover makes me laugh so hard every time I see it. The Humans by Matt Haig. This book stood out to me quite a bit in the book community actually. Before the Midnight Library came out, I was hearing a bunch of like random quirky things about this book, and I mean it looks quirky obviously from the cover, but I just want to read the blurb on the back for you guys because it cracks me up. It says the best-selling award-winning author of The Radleys is back with what may be his best, funniest, and most devastating dark comedy yet. The Humans is a rollicking novel about math and murder, poetry and peanut butter, and casts a sharp eye on the triumphs and foibles? Foibles? I don't think I've ever heard that word. And foibles of our weird and wonderful species. So I believe this actually has to do with an alien or a robot that starts to take over like a human body and is kind of rediscovering how humans work and their feelings and their emotions. I started listening to this on audiobook and it was super intriguing, and I knew immediately that I had to own this book and listen along. The guy that does it is like this older gentleman with like a very low, like just fun British accent that's just so good. So I had to pick this up physically. And then I have another YA contemporary here. They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. This has been on my wish list on Amazon for literally ages. I think the concept just sounds so interesting and fun, and this was also sent to me by a friend on Instagram. I'm so sorry, I literally cannot remember your name. It's on the tip of my tongue, but you know who you are, so thank you so much. I cannot wait to read this. It's about two young boys who discover that they're both going to die within a matter of 24 hours. There's this app called Last Friend where you can essentially just make friends and hang out, and basically kind of like a support group in a way for people that are going to die. It's kind of a little bit of dystopian because you kind of just get a message saying, hey, you have 24 hours left, how do you want to spend your last 24 hours, which I think is a really hard-hitting concept and thought for all of us to think about. So if this is going to be a really hard-hitting book, clearly I believe they both die at the end. So kind of a dead giveaway, but I'm interested to see what happens in between. Then I have a very exciting arc here that comes out in October called Bright Ruined Things by Samantha Coho. I actually have never seen this author before, so I cannot remember if this is a debut, but thank you Wednesday Books for giving me this copy. I'm so excited. I know it has a little bit of Great Gatsby feels to it. I don't believe it's a retelling. Honestly, I can't remember much about it, but this cover just intrigued me right away, knowing it was like a young adult magical realism. I do know it has to do with forbidden magic, a family secret, and a night to reveal it all. Obviously, it says that on the book. The synopsis is very long in the back, but it is blurred by Chloe Gong as well, who wrote These Violent Delights. So I'm hopeful about this one. I think it might actually surprise me. So yeah, if you guys aren't aware of this book, it's coming out in October and I cannot wait. So the rest of my book haul here is actually mystery thrillers and manga, which are two of my favorite genres ever. So if you're not interested in either one of these, just know that's what the rest of this video is gonna be. So let's start out with our mystery thrillers. First one I have here is called The Chain by Adrian McKinty. This book scares me real bad. I have been turned off by it multiple times because I've read the synopsis or the back and just kind of like, no, this is way out of my comfort zone. I think I would be really freaked out. So let me read the back to you guys as well. It says, you just dropped off your child at the bus stop. A panicked stranger calls your phone. Your child has been kidnapped. The stranger then explains that their child has also been kidnapped by a completely different stranger. The only way to get your child back is to kidnap another child. What? You are now part of the chain. I am terrified. This sounds very creepy, but honestly what got me to pick it up is I've never heard anything like this. The synopsis is completely different than any other mystery thriller. It's not very domestic. It sounds high stakes. I know a lot of people said the second half is just very predictable, and honestly it's not that great of a book, but I am willing to prove you all wrong because this just sounds so good. Let me know if you all have read it. Then I have here The Au Pair by Emma Rouse. I have seen this multiple times all over, I think probably Goodreads mainly. So when I saw this for $5, I was like, sure, let's try it out. Essentially, we have two twins whose mother had them, and she decided to commit suicide and jump off a cliff. Later on down the road, this lady named Seraphine, who is actually one of the twins, she discovers somehow a photograph of their mother and father and only one child in the picture. So not two, just one of the children. That's the very basis of what I know about this, but I'm wondering what it has to do with the au pair. I don't know. I really don't know what's gonna happen, so I'm really intrigued by this one. It's another one of those books that just sounded a lot different than the rest of like any other mystery thriller I've heard about. And this next book I can gladly blame on Zoe, called What Lies Between Us by John Mars. I loved the show The One. I still need to read the book, but she read this book in one of her most recent vlogs, and I was like, okay, this just sounds like, again, one of those mystery thrillers that's completely different than anything else I've heard out there right now. I'm very excited. It has to do with two women who live in the same house and they eat dinner together, but when dinner is over, one of the women takes the other woman upstairs and chains her in the attic. I have no clue why. I am very intrigued and I don't know what's gonna happen, so I'm gonna be picking this one up very, very soon. These two books I have actually never read by this author before. The first one is called The Good Sister by Sally Hepworth, and the other one is The Mother-in-Law by Sally Hepworth. This one was very, very cheap. I got it for like $5, and I've seen this one all over Bookstagram, and I know I'm gonna love it, so I decided to just go ahead and pick up this one. This one mentions something about everyone has a dark side, and I know we have two twin sisters. One of them can't have a baby, so the other one decides to have a baby for her sister. They try to find a father, and I don't know, sounds very dramatic, but also sounds kind of interesting, and I'm honestly just relying on Bookstagram and everyone's opinions of this book in hopes that I will like it. And I also have zero clue as to what this one is about, but I'm reading The Good Sister first, and if I end up liking it, I'm gonna read this one. So yeah, it's just one of those things where it was a cheap book, and the author seems to be great, so we're going for it. I have recently been enjoying and not so much enjoying Alice Feeney's books. So I decided to pick up I Know Who You Are. Honestly, this is one of my favorite covers. I don't know what it is. Not like Sometimes I Lie, and I pretty much liked his and hers. So I feel like I still need to read one more book by her to see if she's an autobi author or what. So this one has to do with an actress named Amy Sinclair, who everybody claims knows her, but they don't know how. And one day Amy comes home and her husband is missing. A lot of chaos ensues. I don't really know what happens, but I'm here for it. It sounds really intriguing, like the fact that, hey, I know you, but I don't know why, and everybody says that. So I don't know, is she like impersonating people? Is she, I don't know. I'm really excited to see what I think about this one. I know it's one of more of like her lower rated books, but I don't know. I'm very intrigued. It was very cheap, so we're gonna give it a go. Basically, this whole book haul should be called Bookstagram Made Me Do It, because this one has been making its rounds on Bookstagram as well, called Little Secrets by Jennifer Hillier. This author also wrote Jar of Hearts, which I haven't had the guts to read yet. I own it, but I've heard it's really disturbing. So I don't know, maybe I'll start with this one and then go into that one. But I do know that this one has to do with the husband and wife and their child is taken, and I don't know what else happens, but apparently a lot of other stuff happens, like secrets. So I've just been on a mystery thriller kick for months now. I'm finally taking a break from it, but I know when I'm in the mood again, I'm gonna want books like this on my shelf. And last but definitely not least, I have bought some more manga lately. 3 series which I have probably talked about quite often, so I'm just going to be brief. I picked up volume 7 of which had Adeliere. Of course, I recommend this to all manga newbies. If you haven't read it before, the art, the story, everything is so magical. It's so easy to understand. It's literally for ages 10 and up, so if you're interested in starting manga, would definitely start with this one. It's also great for like fall time if you're looking for those witchy vibes. This is just so sweet and so cute, and I literally can't talk about it enough. I held off on reading the 7th one because the 8th one doesn't come out until September, and I have this feeling that I'm gonna want to pick it up right away. So I'm holding off on this in hopes that I'm gonna want to pick up the 8th one right away. And I'm currently on volume 13 of the Promise Neverland. There's definitely a little bit of a lull with it right now. I'm not gonna explain this other than it has to do with an orphanage and some creepy stuff happening. It's adventure, it's high stakes. I would say this is for older teen. It has a little bit of goriness to it. It probably looks really lighthearted on some of the covers, but seriously, it's not. So I have not wanted to pick this up for a while because, again, it's kind of at a slow pace, but I do need to catch up eventually, so I decided to pick number 13 up. Your Name, I have probably talked on Bookstagram a little bit about, but this is one of the first animes I ever watched. It's actually an anime movie, which I highly recommend. It has to do with a girl and a boy who wake up one day and they are switched in their bodies, and it's hilarious, it's heartfelt, it is a little bit of a romantic comedy, so if you're interested in that, would definitely try this, but I tear up at the story. It's so sweet. The soundtrack, literally everything about it is one of my absolute favorites. It's such a classic for anyone that wants to get started. And this one recently sparked my interest, called The Apothecary Diaries. I somehow got recommended this book on Goodreads and I was like, oh, that looks really cute. Maybe because I recently read Lost Apothecary? I don't know. But anyways, I already read this. It was okay-ish, but it's about this girl who basically grows up as a servant and then she turns into a food taster to make sure there's no poison in the food, and it's interesting. It's definitely a slower pace. It's more romantic. There's romance in it. So yeah, it was okay. Probably not my favorite, but if you do like romance, I would definitely consider picking this one up. Last but not least, I'm going to totally butcher this name, and I honestly should have looked up how to pronounce it before I talk about it. I've seen part of the show and I stopped watching the show because I knew I would love these books. I just had to pick up the book. This is what it's called. I know it looks kind of demonic. I'm going to try to pronounce it. It's Kakiguru? Kakiguroi? Yeah. That's how you spell it. This has to do with gambling, but there's some crazy things involved with the gambling that's just like high stakes, crazy, like truth or dare kind of things. And these people are strange. These academy students are very strange. But honestly, this is such an interesting, intriguing, unique concept, and I love it. Definitely not going to be for everyone, but it's one of the manga that I find very intriguing that you wouldn't normally see here in the US kind of concept. I could see this definitely as a really good movie as well, like a Netflix show. But anyways, if you're into very unique type scenarios and people and things like that, or games, this is definitely one you want to check out. Well friends, that concludes my summer book haul. Basically, I am putting myself on a book buying ban the rest of this summer. I do not need to buy any more books. There are some really good ones coming out in September, so I'm going to be holding off until like late September, October to purchase any more books, but I've done big on hauls, so I wanted to catch you guys up on some hidden gems that I found at my local store. And yeah, let me know if any of these are new finds for you, if you plan on picking any of these up. If you've read any of these, let me know so I can bump them higher on my list. But yeah, thank you once again for sticking around and supporting my channel and always watching. I love you guys so much, and I'm so glad you guys come back. Have a great, amazing day wherever you are, and I will see you in my next video.